My mom read every single message on my phone while I was in the shower. She didn't say anything for 3 days. The silence was worse than any punishment she could have given me. My mom and I have always been close. That's not me performing closeness for the internet. It's genuinely true, and it's the reason this whole thing hit the way it did. We're a 2-person household in Portland, Oregon. It's been that way since I was 9, when my dad moved to Sacramento for work and eventually for a new life, and my mom and I figured out how to be a family of 2 without making a big production of it. We have a system. We have routines. We watch the same 3 shows on rotation, and she makes congee when I'm sick, and I am the only person in the house who knows how to reset the router, and we have functioned like this, smoothly and honestly, for 7 years. I am 16. Her name is Linda. She is 44. She works in hospital administration. She reads literary fiction on her lunch breaks, and she has never once, in my entire memory, gone through my things without asking. That's not a small thing. I have friends whose parents read their journals, check their location every hour, demand access to their social media as a condition of having it. My mom never did any of that. She operated on a policy of earned trust and voluntary transparency, which she articulated to me exactly once when I was 12, quietly and without drama, like a contract we were both signing. So, when I tell you what happened, I need you to understand that this was not a surveillance household. This was not a mom who was looking for something. This was an accident with consequences neither of us planned for. It was a Sunday in November. I had been at my friend Cass's house the night before, and I came home late. Not rule-breakingly late, just later than usual. Maybe 11:15 when my soft curfew is 11. My mom was still up, reading. We said, "Hi, I got water." I plugged my phone in on the kitchen counter because my charger in my room was broken and I'd been meaning to replace it for 3 weeks. Standard Sunday night, nothing notable. Monday morning, I got up early, showered, came back to the kitchen. My mom was at the table with her coffee. My phone was face down exactly where I left it. She was looking at her own phone. Everything appeared completely normal. She said, "Morning, Bug." She calls me Bug. She has since I was small. "There's oatmeal on the stove." I said thanks. Ate. Went to school. It was not until I was on the bus that I opened my phone and noticed. The screen time tracker showed 47 minutes of activity between 6:14 and 7:01 a.m. I had been asleep until 7:20. My mom gets up at 6:10. I stared at that number for the entire bus ride. 47 minutes. That's not a pocket dial. That's not accidentally unlocking the screen. That is 47 minutes of reading. My phone does not have a lock code. This was, in retrospect, a choice I had made with the comfortable laziness of someone who has never had reason to need one. My mom knew this. She had never used that knowledge until now. I want to try to describe the 3 days accurately because they were genuinely one of the strangest experiences of my life, and I've been trying to find the right words for it since it ended. Day 1, Monday. Normal on the surface. She made dinner, pasta with the lemon butter sauce I like. We watched an episode of the British baking show. She asked about my day. I answered. She laughed at the same parts she always laughs at. And yet, there was something in the quality of her attention. She was watching me the way you watch something you're worried about. Carefully, quietly, from a slight remove. Not cold, just measured. I kept waiting for her to say something. She didn't. Day 2, Tuesday. I started to wonder if I had imagined the screen time thing. I checked it again. I had not imagined it. 47 minutes. She drove me to school, and we talked about a road closure on our usual route and whether the new coffee place near the hospital was good. She said, "Medium." I said, "Mom, are you okay?" She said, "Of course. Why?" and looked at me with an expression that was warm and closed at the same time, like a door that's unlocked but you're not supposed to open yet. I said, "No reason." We drove the rest of the way in normal silence. Day 3, Wednesday, this was the hardest one. By day 3, I had fully convinced myself that she had read something devastating and was quietly preparing to either explode or collapse, and the not knowing was so much worse than either outcome would have been. I went through my own messages in my head like a prosecutor building a case against myself. What was in there? What had she seen? The answer was a lot. My messages are not a curated highlight reel, they are my actual interior life, distributed across 7 conversations. I need to explain what was on my phone because this is the part where I stop being a sympathetic narrator and start being a 16-year-old with a lot of unfiltered text messages. There was a conversation with Cass where I complained about my mom. Not cruelly, not like I hated her or anything close to that, but in the way you complain to your best friend about a parent when you're frustrated. I had said things like, "She's being so overprotective about the college conversation, and sometimes I feel like she wants me to need her, and I just want to make a decision without it becoming a whole thing." These were real feelings that I had at real moments of frustration. In the context of being 16 and asserting independence and needing somewhere to put complicated emotions, they were completely normal. But stripped of that context, read cold on a phone screen at 6 a.m. by the person they were a lot. There was also a conversation with my friend Jordan about a party I had gone to 2 months earlier that I had described to my mom as just hanging out at Marcus's. It was mostly just hanging out at Marcus's. There had been alcohol at Marcus's that I had not touched, but I had also not mentioned that alcohol existed there, which in retrospect was a lie by omission that my mom could now see reconstructed in full detail across 18 text messages. And then there was the thing I was most afraid of. A conversation with Cass from 3 weeks ago where I talked about a boy, not in a dramatic way, nothing physical, just the regular breathless texting of someone who has recently understood that they like someone and needs to say it into a container. Where I had also once said something about not being ready to tell my mom yet. Not because it was shameful, because it was mine. Because there are things you hold privately for a while before you let them exist in the world, and that's not a betrayal of anyone. That's just how you develop an interior life. My mom had read all of it, I was almost certain, and she was saying nothing, and I did not know what the silence meant. She came to my room after dinner. She knocked, which she always does. She sat on the edge of my bed the way she does when something is real, not in the desk chair, not in the doorway. On the bed, which means we're going to actually talk. She said, "I owe you an apology." I had been prepared for a lot of openers. That was not one of them. She said it clearly and without preamble. She had picked up my phone Monday morning, meaning to check the weather. Her own phone had been charging in the bedroom and mine was right there. And she had accidentally opened my messages because the last app was still open. And then she had read some. And then she had read more, and she had kept going for 47 minutes, and she knew that was wrong, and she had been trying to figure out how to say so for 3 days. "I didn't go looking," she said, "but I kept going. And that part was a choice, and I'm sorry." She said it the way she says things that matter, directly, without softening it into something easier. My mom does not over-apologize. When she says sorry, she means the full weight of it, and this was the full weight. I didn't say anything for a moment, and then I said, "What did you read?" And she told me, not everything. She didn't quote my messages back at me, which I think would have broken something between us permanently. But she told me the shape of it, the complaints about her, the party, the boy. Then she said, "I'm not going to pretend I didn't read it, but I want you to know I'm not going to use it." Here's where the story stops being what I expected it to be. I had been braced for a conversation about the party, about honesty, about lying by omission. I had a whole internal defense prepared. I had been ready to be in trouble. Instead, my mom was quiet for a moment, and then she said, "The thing about you feeling like I want you to need me." I went completely still. She said, "I've been thinking about that for 3 days, and I think you might be right." She wasn't crying. My mom is not a big crier, but her voice had the quality it gets when she's working very hard to stay level, which I have learned over 16 years is its own kind of emotional weather. She said that when my dad left, she had reorganized herself around being essential to me, that she had built her sense of purpose so tightly around our two-person system that she might have, without meaning to, made it hard for me to move toward independence without it feeling like I was moving away from her. "I don't want you to feel like you have to sneak an interior life," she said. "That's not what I built this for." I started crying before she finished the sentence. I'm not proud of the timeline, but it is what happened. We talked for 2 hours. It was the longest real conversation we'd had in probably a year. Not because we don't talk, but because we had gotten so comfortable in our routines that we were sometimes just performing closeness instead of actually doing it, saying the surface things, watching the show, passing each other in the kitchen. She told me things about the year my dad left that she had never told me before, not to justify herself. She was careful about that, just to let me see more of her than the version she constructed for my sake. I told her about the boy. His name is Felix. He's in my chemistry class. I have liked him since October and I wasn't hiding it. I was just holding it privately until it felt real enough to share, and she said she understood, and I think she actually did. I've been thinking about this a lot since Wednesday and I want to work through it here because I don't think it's simple. My mom violated my privacy, that's real. 47 minutes is not an accident. The initial open might have been, but staying is a decision, and she admitted that. I had a reasonable expectation that my messages were mine and she read them, and that's not okay regardless of what she found or didn't find. At the same time, the conversation we had Wednesday night was the most honest one we've had in years. She said things to me she'd been holding for 7 years. I said things I'd been holding for months. Some of what came out would not have come out any other way through any normal path because we had gotten so practiced at our comfortable version of closeness that we'd stopped going deeper. The privacy violation cracked something open that needed cracking. I don't think that makes it okay. I want to be clear about that. The ends don't redeem the means, and if I have kids one day, I will lock my phone and I will knock on doors and I will try to create a house where people don't have to hide the real version of themselves inside a curated one. But I also can't pretend the outcome was bad. It wasn't. It was hard, and it was good in the way that genuinely hard conversations sometimes are. The 3 days of silence, though, that I have more complicated feelings about. I understand why she needed them. She was ashamed of what she'd done, and she was processing what she'd read, and she was trying to figure out how to be honest without being punishing. I get all of that. But from where I was standing, 3 days of being watched and not spoken to was its own specific kind of consequence. She didn't mean it as punishment. It functioned like one anyway. I've told her this. She heard it. It's been 2 weeks since the conversation. Things are different in ways that are hard to fully articulate, but that I notice constantly. She asks more questions now. Not surveillance questions, not where are you going and with whom questions, but actual curiosity questions. She asked about Felix by name last week, not in a probing way, just, "How's Felix?" Like he exists in our house now because I let him in, not because she found him. I got a phone case with a passcode lock. She didn't ask me to, and she didn't say anything when she noticed it. I think we both understood why without it needing to be said. The thing about her wanting me to need her, that one is still in the air, not in a bad way, more like a thing we've named, and are now watching together, the way you name a pattern in therapy and then start to see it everywhere. She caught herself last Tuesday before giving me unsolicited advice about a group project, stopped, asked if I wanted input or just to vent. I almost fell off my chair. It was such a small adjustment, and it mattered so much. She's still my mom. She still makes congee when I'm sick. We still watch the same 3 shows, but we added something, or maybe got back something we had slowly lost, that feels less like a performance of closeness and more like the actual thing. I don't know how to feel about the fact that it took a privacy violation to get here. I'm not ready to be grateful for it, exactly. But I'm not angry anymore either, and I think somewhere in between those 2 things is where the truth usually lives. Felix and I have been texting. I have a passcode on my phone now. Some things you keep private, not because they're shameful, but because they're still becoming. My mom knows the difference now, or she's learning it. We both are.